Imagine total darkness, not the peaceful darkness of sleep, but a heavy, suffocating weight pressing down on you from every angle. You cannot move your arms. They are pinned tight against your ribs. You cannot kick your legs. They are bound fast. Against your cheek, there is no cool pillow. Only the scratchy, abrasive texture of coarse wool. Every breath is a struggle. The air inside is hot, stale, and smells of ancient dust. Outside this woolen cocoon, the world is ending. You can hear it. The muffled screams of a dying city, the dull thud of walls collapsing. But inside it is terrifyingly intimate. There is only the sound of your own jagged breathing, recycling the same trapped air over and over again. The date is February 20th, 1258. The location is the dirt outside the golden walls of Baghdad. The man trapped inside this rolled-up carpet is not a thief. He is Al-Musta'sim Billah, the Caliph, the king of the world. And he is lying in the dirt, waiting for the sound of thundering hooves. They told him this was an act of respect. They said they wouldn't spill a drop of his royal blood. But as the ground begins to shake, he realizes the terrifying truth. They didn't promise him mercy. They promised him an erasure. Step back from the carpet. Look at the scene. Silence. A terrifying, unnatural stillness. Standing in a perfect circle around the fallen king are thousands of Mongol horsemen. They do not speak. They do not jeer. They simply watch. The contrast is jarring. On the ground, the Caliph is draped in robes of iridescent silk, smelling of rosewater. Towering over him are the Mongols, smelling of wood smoke, cured leather, and dried blood. This isn't a fable. Historians like Rashid al-Din documented this moment with chilling precision. They tell us that this army has already swallowed half the known world, from the Pacific Ocean to the gates of Europe. And now, the Abbasid Caliphate, a dynasty that stood for 500 years, has been reduced to a single, trembling shape on the desert floor. But this execution wasn't random cruelty. It was a calculated procedural response. To understand why the king ended up in the dirt, we have to understand the fatal mistake he made just 10 days earlier. Rewind the clock. If you walked down the streets of Baghdad in January 1258, you wouldn't feel fear. You would feel awe. While Europe was struggling through the dark, muddy Middle Ages, Baghdad was glowing. It was the center of the universe. The air didn't smell of war. It smelled of ink, paper pulp, spices from China. Listen to the city. It isn't the clang of swords. It is a low, constant hum of debate. In the House of Wisdom, scholars were mapping the stars and inventing algebra. The most dangerous thing in this city wasn't a weapon, it was an idea. The Abbasid dynasty had sat on this throne for 5 centuries. To the people living here, the caliphate wasn't just a government. It was a permanent fact of nature. They believed they were the shadow of God on earth, divinely protected. They looked at their massive walls and felt safe. They were arrogant. They were comfortable. They didn't know that a storm was coming that walls could not stop. Now, look at the man holding the keys to this paradise, Caliph Al-Mustasim. He is not a warrior. He is a collector. He spends his days listening to music and breeding pigeons, utterly disconnected from reality. Then, the letter arrives. Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis, demands his surrender. Most men would tremble. Al-Mustasim laughs. He writes back, mocking the Khan. He calls him young and foolish. It is the most expensive bluff in history, because while the Caliph writes insults, he makes a fatal calculation based on greed. Deep in his vaults, there are mountains of gold, enough to buy an army 10 times over. But he refuses to spend it. He loves the gold more than the soldiers who protect it. He sat on a throne of gold, hoarding coins to pay an army that no longer existed. And when he finally looked over the walls, expecting to see defenders, he saw only the Mongol horizon. The end comes quickly. The walls are breached. The Caliph walks out to surrender. He is trembling, but he holds on to one last delusion. He thinks this is a negotiation. He expects exile. He expects to pay a tribute. He enters the Mongol camp and is brought before Hulagu Khan. And this is where the true horror sets in. Hulagu is not raging. He is terrifyingly polite. He offers the Caliph food. He speaks softly. It is the calm of a butcher sharpening a knife. Then the order is given. Wrap him up. Soldiers step forward with the carpet. The Caliph struggles. Why a carpet? Is this a joke? To us, it looks like a mob hit, a crude way to hide a body. But you have to understand the Mongol mind. They live by the Yassa, the great law. In their culture, royal blood is sacred. It is connected to the eternal blue sky. If a single drop of the Caliph's blood touches the earth, the spirits will be offended. Bad luck will haunt the army. The Khan isn't being cruel. He is being pious. He needs the Caliph dead, but he needs the earth to remain clean. In their eyes, rolling him in the carpet was the only way to kill him, respectfully. While the Caliph lies suffocating, let's look at the city one last time. The Tigris River is changing colors. First, it runs red with the bodies of the slain. Then, it shifts to black. It looks like oil, but it is ink. The Mongols have entered the House of Wisdom. They are taking the greatest books in human history, medical texts, star charts, philosophy, and throwing them into the river. Thousands of leather-bound volumes hit the water. The pages soak through. The ink dissolves. The river turns black with the dissolved genius of 5 centuries. A bridge of books is formed across the Tigris, solid enough for a horse to walk across. We often think of libraries burning, but here the tragedy is colder, wet, heavy. The books didn't burn. They drowned, and the secrets of the ancient world washed away forever. Darkness again. We are back inside the carpet. The air is critically thin. You are lightheaded. For a long time, there was silence. But now, the ground beneath your cheek begins to hum. Vibration. A low, trembling frequency that rattles your teeth. Then comes the sound. Thump, thump, thump. It is rhythmic. Heavy. It sounds like a heartbeat, but it is too loud to be human. It is the sound of iron horseshoes striking the hard-packed desert floor. The Mongol cavalry is forming a line. They are not drawing swords. They are tightening their reins. Inside the dark, the horrific genius of this execution becomes clear. There will be no blade. There will be no quick exit. There will only be pressure. The rhythm speeds up. The vibration turns into an earthquake. The thunder of the gallop is right on top of you. You brace yourself against the wool, but there is nowhere to go. The shadow of the first horse falls over the carpet. The last thing the king of the world heard was not a prayer. It was the sickening crunch of his own ribs giving way beneath the weight of an empire. And then, absolute silence. The thunder fades, the dust settles. Look at the ground one last time. The bundle of wool is no longer round. It is flat, pressed into the earth, indistinguishable from the sand around it. Inside that crushed textile lies the end of an era. The silk robes, the royal blood, the man who thought he was the shadow of God. all compressed into a single layer of sediment. The Tigris River eventually ran clear again, but the books were pulp, the knowledge was lost. The Golden Age didn't end with a treaty. It ended on a Tuesday afternoon under the weight of a galloping horse. We look at our skyscrapers and our bank accounts and we feel secure. But Al-Mustasim felt secure too. He believed his walls were high enough. He believed his gold would save him. We forget that gravity applies to civilizations just as it applies to stone. History tells us that empires are built on gold, but the Scarlet archives remind us that they are usually buried in dirt.